written, you'll have discussions where you can kind of play around with ideas before you have a Dropbox assignment. But they are both marked. And the important thing about a discussion is that it's not just about what you post as your response, but it's also about commenting on other students' responses. So you will not get complete marks unless you are commenting on at least 2 other blog posts. And that's really important because students were confused about that for some reason in first semester. They thought, oh, it's okay, as long as I just post my own response, I don't have to talk to other people. And you do have to talk to other people, even if it's just in writing. So the thing to keep in mind with discussions is in the calendar, when it says a discussion is locked, that means that that's when the discussion closes. So you have to have your work submitted prior to that due date. The other thing to keep in mind, though, is you can't leave it to the last minute, because if you leave it to the last minute, then your blog post is not, or your blog post, excuse me, your discussion post is not available for other people to comment on. So get in the habit of writing your discussion post early so that you have time to comment on other people's posts before the discussion closes. For the Dropbox, I mean, there's no comment requirement. It's just you submit your work, and the calendar should show the time as well as the date for the due date. And I usually make the post close by, and the Dropbox close by like 11:59 p.m. so right before midnight. And as long as you hand it in before that Dropbox or discussion closes, it's on time. So let's talk about deadlines. A deadline is a deadline, and it's even more important in an online class because it's very difficult to chase people down for late assignments in person. The other thing is because it's an online class, I feel like in a face-to-face class, people feel bad about submitting work online, and so or submitting work late, and so they want to get their work to their teacher because they don't like that look of disappointment that their teacher gives when they try to hand in late work. But in an online course, it feels a little bit easier because you don't actually have to look the person in the eye when you hand in the late assignment. And that's led to a lot of issues, at least in my first semester class. So I'm making some changes for second semester. Basically, this is how it will work. Things come up, and I understand that, and there may be cases where you have to submit work late, and I'm okay with that, but you should know before 11:59 p.m. that you need an extension. So if you don't know that, you haven't been using your time well, and you haven't been responsible, right? Okay, so you need to get in the habit of not leaving your work to the last minute. And if you do need an extension, I'm almost always going to be open to it. The only chance that I might not be open to it is if you're constantly asking for extensions, right? And I don't really even need to necessarily know the reason unless you're asking for them a lot. I'm almost always going to give you an extension, but you've got to ask for it before the assignment is due. And I used to say 48 hours. I'm not even going to say that, but you need to ask me before the day an assignment is due for an extension. And I'm not going to give you a specific number of extensions you can ask for, but if it seems like it's starting to get to be a lot, and I will determine what a lot is, then I might cut you off, okay? Now, there's a difference between major assignments and formative assignments. So the course culminating task is a major assignment, but each unit has its own culminating task too. And late mark deductions will apply for major assignments at the end of each unit, okay? So if you hand it in late and you haven't asked for an extension, I will still take it, but you are going to lose marks. And I will write up what the late mark deduction policy is. That only applies to major assignments though. So if it is one of the smaller assignments, okay, so like one of the first assignments in a unit, if you do not ask for an extension, I am not going to mark it until the end of the course. So here's how that works. Basically, if you haven't asked for an extension on a smaller assignment and you want to still give it to me after the due date, I will accept it from you, but I'm not going to mark it. The mark will stay 0 until we get to the end of the course and I need to determine what your overall achievement is for the course. And in that kind of case where I look at your mark and I go, okay, but they've got 5 or 6, God, I hope not, sorry, that may be too many, 2 or 3, let's say, late assignments that I've been holding in consideration. Let me take a look at those and see if marking that assignment would bump up your mark. And if it will, then I'll consider that. But just to clarify then, if it is a major assignment, so a course culminating or unit culminating task, I will accept the assignment late up to a certain number of days. 5 is the max, but late mark deductions will apply unless you've asked for an extension and I've granted one. If it's a smaller assignment and you haven't asked for an extension and you hand it in late, I will not mark it. It will be a 0, but I will hold it in consideration. And when you get to the end of the course, if it's going to mean that your mark will be higher if I mark it, I will mark it, okay? So I'll put all that stuff in writing, but I just wanted to really be clear about that, so I wanted to go over it with you in a video post. And I'm up to like 12 minutes now, so I am going to have to end this video and make a second one to talk about the course culminating activity. So welcome. I'm looking forward to a really good semester with you all.